So, with the holidays coming up, I've been thinking about all those embarrassing conversations that come up, the slick comments, the comparisons, the jokes that sting just a little too much. And if you have ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely embarrassed, dismissed, misunderstood, I can assure you that you are not alone. A lot of the disconnection that we feel in our relationships come down to one very important thing, and it's a lack of emotional safety. Talkticians, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I teach communication strategies to help you master difficult conflict. Now, before I even get into my list of 7 common rude ass phrases that we hear at the dinner table and amongst family, I want you to share your experience in the comments. What's some of the rudest things people have said to you at a family function? All right, so let me set the scene. It is time for Thanksgiving dinner. You have been kind of dreading it for a little bit because you remember all the slick comments that have been said to you in the past, but you know that food is going to be good and you want to see your family. So you sit in the car, take a few deep breaths, you try to forget those memories of the harsh things that were said. You step out the car, you gather the courage to knock on the front door, and before your foot can even hit the threshold, your grandma comes to greet you and she says, "Wow, you're getting fat." Or, "Wow, you put on weight." It's a very common greeting in Black and Caribbean culture. It's very common dinner time talk. It's just kind of what they do. Now, I understand that there is a cultural difference. I know that in the Caribbean, weight is not seen the same way that it is here in America, but either way, it doesn't make it appropriate or kind. Why is it wrong to bring up somebody's weight? Well, for one, that person can already be dealing with a ton of shame around their weight or the way that they look. It also reduces that entire human being down to just their appearance. There are so many other things that we can talk about, especially as a greeting. That does not need to be the first thing, the middle thing, or the last thing that is said to a person, especially if you haven't seen them in a while. Commenting on somebody's weight is also not very constructive. Like, I'm sure the last 10 times you said it, it didn't make that person go and run to the gym, right? It probably just hurt their feelings and damaged their relationship. So I would steer away from that. We also could be making a comment on something that they can't necessarily change. This could be their chemical or hormonal genetic makeup. So it doesn't really help to make that comment. What we could do instead, because there's a lot of other things to focus on. "Hi, Stacey Ann. I haven't seen you in a long time. You look good." Only if you mean it. "You look good. Come on in. I can't wait to catch up with you. I can't wait to hear what's been going on." That's a much better greeting. That is a greeting that is going to provide emotional safety, help the person to feel those warm and friendly feelings, and actually cultivate a positive relationship. So now we've gotten through the fat comment, we have taken off our jacket, and here comes your aunt. "Wow, you're not pregnant yet? When y'all gonna have some kids? What's going on?" These statements are said very flippantly. So what's wrong with it? Why is it wrong to inquire? Well, for one, it's really none of our damn business. It's none of our damn business. The person's womb is off limits because it has nothing to do with us. That is very private, very personal. That should be between them, their partner, and their OBGYN. I also want us to think that we don't know people's business. They could be trying to conceive and are having a very difficult time. And here you go asking them, "When you gonna get pregnant?" That's tough. The person could have been pregnant and lost a child, lost them just last night. And here we go asking, "When you gonna get pregnant? Why you not pregnant yet?" Come on, man. That can be really, really traumatizing. I want you to really imagine what it would be like to be asked a question like that after having a miscarriage or a stillbirth or whatever the case may be. Think about that. And you know what? It might not even be all that. Maybe you're taking a new medication. Maybe you have a medical condition. Maybe you just got a new job in tech. You getting paid that good money. You get extra guac and extra steak on your Chipotle bowl. And so what? So the alternative to asking the very invasive question of "Are you pregnant? Why you ain't got no kids yet?" Remember, it's not your business, so you don't have to ask that question at all. If you're in a situation like Thanksgiving dinner, you just want to make small talk, there are other questions you can ask. One of them being, "So how are you and your boyfriend, or how are you and your partner enjoying life these days?" that opens up the space for them to talk about what they want to talk about, what they got going on, their joys, their plans, their travel, their career, whatever the case may be. Okay. But we get the chance to connect with them without putting extra pressure. You can also say, well, what's next for you two? If they feel like sharing that at the dinner table, which they probably won't, but if they feel like sharing that, then they will, or they'll talk about something else, their careers, or their new volunteer project. But the key is it keeps the conversation going well. All right, so now we are 15 minutes into dinner. They have already called us fat. They have asked us why we are not with child. And we're starting to feel a way about it, and we start to shut down a little bit. One of our cousins comes from out the woodwork and says, now come on now, you need to calm down. You being too sensitive. You are overreacting, girl. Like, lighten up. Calm down, being number 3 on the list. Calm down, you're overreacting, you're too sensitive. Why is it wrong? Because it doesn't work. You have never told an angry person or a hurt person to calm down and they calm down. Ever. Ever. Okay? It doesn't work because it's invalidating. We didn't actually give the person any resource, any strategy to actually calm down. We just told them calm down, which is a way to shut them up, really. And it doesn't actually address the reason why the person is upset. So, an alternative in that situation, as somebody that's at Thanksgiving dinner, change the subject if you see that things are starting to get a little bit tense. Maybe you can pull that person to the side. Don't do it in front of everybody because then they're going to be embarrassed, okay? Don't do it in front of everybody. And you can ask them in a very caring tone, hey, what's wrong? What was said? What upset you? How can I help? That is so much better and so much more productive than telling a person, calm down, you're overreacting, you're too sensitive. I really want us to omit those things from our vocabulary, okay? All right. Number 4 on the list. They done told you that you fat, why you ain't pregnant yet, and you need to calm down. You grab a drink, your uncle sits next to you, and he says, well, your cousins just bought a house in the suburbs. What you got going on? What's wrong with this? Because on the surface, it just sounds like an innocent question, right? One, we know that tone is very important in our communication. 2, we got to look at the intent. What was the purpose of the comparison? Your cousin just bought a house in the suburbs. What's going on with you, or what you got going on next? You could have omitted that part and just said, hey, what you got going on? What's new for you? So we got to look at the intent here. When we make those kind of comparisons, we make people feel small, and we also dishonor and disrespect the importance of individuality. Everybody's on their own path. Just because your cousin got this in the suburbs doesn't mean that you have to, or that you need to have that right now in your life, and nobody needs to highlight that difference. It's also wrong because it's passive aggressive. The statement is not actually there to show genuine concern and care about your endeavors. It's to compare, it's to make you feel small. So, an alternative, the first thing I want us to do when we make statements like that is to really think, to do some self reflection. Was there some heat on our chest before we made that kind of statement? Self reflection is important. And I also want us to just omit the comparison. Just focus your attention on that person. You can ask things like, what's new? Last time I talked to you, we were talking about the business, what's happening with that? If they say, if they express that they're having some trouble, or it's not really going the way that you want, that's an excellent opportunity for you to say something like, oh, you haven't been able to launch yet? Man, listen, I know that you could do this. I know such and such down at the Chamber of Commerce. I know this person that I can connect you to. But cut the passive aggressiveness, okay? It will not only damage, it has the potential to sever that connection. All right, so we done made it through the uncle. We done made it through people worrying about our womb and talking about we fat and all this other stuff. But we're going to keep rolling because the food here is good. So you have this beautiful spread of food in front of you. You got some jerk chicken, some fried fish, some macaroni and cheese, some callaloo. You got all that in front of you, okay? So you get up and you get you another plate. And here go your sister in the back. Damn, girl, you eating again? That's a lot of rice on your plate. Now, come on. I can see why a lot of people wouldn't think that there's anything wrong with that, because it's just like, well, I'm just making a joke. Like, I can't crack a joke. No, because the joke is critical, and it creates shame around something that is natural, eating. It's called Thanksgiving dinner. Dine. That's what we here to do. And by bringing that kind of attention to how much they're eating in front of everybody, that can make that person feel really judged, and like everybody's monitoring their plate and looking at them and just, judging them, and it doesn't feel good. And I want us to remember it doesn't matter how confident a person is or how they look or what you think they got going on. Everybody is dealing with their battles. It could have been meant as a joke and not taken as one, okay? And you end up breaking trust with somebody that you really love. Now, Caribbean people, I know we love some goddamn rice. I know we love rice, but you do not have to be the rice police at the family functions this holiday season, okay? All right. So we're not gonna make comments on people's plate or how much they're eating. What we can do instead. As y'all can see, I'm in a new location, but that's neither here nor there. So let's keep on going with this video. Okay, so an alternative to focusing on what's on a person's plate or how much they're eating, focus on the food. Okay, you could say something like, man, this food is so delicious. Like, I wonder what they put in it. You can also say, if you feel like being sentimental, I haven't seen you in a really long time and I'm really happy to be able to enjoy this meal with you. Either one of those statements are going to create some level of camaraderie and emotional safety. Okay. So now it's time for dessert. You got the rum cake, you got the sweet potato pie, you got this really delicious spice bourbon cupcakes. As y'all can tell, I really love food. But you got all that, okay? And at this point, people have made comments about your womb, your weight, and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so now you sit down with your favorite cousin. You only grab one slice of sweet potato pie because everybody already looking at your plate. Even though that you wanted two slices, but you ain't want to be judged no more. But anywho, you sit down with your cousin, and this is a cousin that is always respected and understood you. So you feel comfortable and you've been feeling really nervous about sharing your new business venture. But hey, this is a cousin that you cool with. So you share and you open up and say, yeah, cuz I've been thinking about starting a car wash. And your cousin says to you, uh, you sure that's a good idea? Or they say, well, better you than me. The reason why that's not the best thing to say is because it undermines the person's confidence. It takes a lot to start a business. It takes a lot to share that you're starting a business. And I'm sure that that person already feels a great deal of maybe some self-doubt. Okay, so we don't need to add on to that. It's also very judgmental and not very supportive. And when a person is opening up to share, they don't need that level of judgment in that moment. Phrases like, you sure about that, or better you than me, things like that damage the emotional safety in a relationship. We don't want that. You'll notice when we say things like that sometimes people will pull away. They don't share as much. They don't pick up our phone calls as much. It's probably because we've said things like that. We've created some level of doubt when they were really looking for support. So we have to be careful with statements like that. So the alternative is you can say, that sounds like an interesting idea. How do you plan to tackle it? And watch your tone when you say it. Don't sound slick, okay? But if you are genuinely interested, you can ask that. This shows that you are being curious and not judgmental, and that kind of question is going to open up the space for them to tell you more about their business idea. You can also say something like, I like that idea. What excites you most about that, or what made you want to go into that direction? That moves the conversation from the world of potential doom and failure to their excitement and their motivation. And that's what we want in this initial conversation about their business or whatever the venture is. If you genuinely feel like that person is going to fail, that's fine, but keep it to yourself. Okay, do not project your fear on another person. If they had the boldness to come up with the idea, then leave them with the boldness to go ahead and follow through. If you genuinely do not like the idea, guess what? You don't got to say it. What you could do that would be more helpful and would create more emotional safety in that situation is ask them what kind of resources they need. Who can you connect them to? Do they know anybody in the industry? Ask how you can help, even if you don't necessarily like the idea. Okay. We want to show some support. All right. So now it is the end of the night. You go ahead and grab you a nice warm cup of tea to wash down that sweet potato pie. You're still not feeling all that great because people have talked about your womb and your business ideas and your weight and all kinds of other stuff. So you're not feeling too good right now, but you continue that conversation with your cousin and you open up and say, as far as my plan or how I plan to tackle this new business venture is, I've picked up a second job so that I can save money to start the new business. And your cousin leans in and they say, so how much money you making, cuz? All right, now this one is tricky. That question, that comment is tricky. It depends on the generation that you're talking to. I notice with the more seasoned generation, they don't like telling people about their business and their money, and it can feel really invasive. When we talk about money, that's directly tied to people's security. So that's why it feels like, that question is like you being all up in my business. For millennials and Gen Z, on the other hand, I find that our generation tends to be a lot more open about money. We've had a different situation, and millennials and Gen Z will tell you how broke they are in a second and how much money they don't got, and they're more willing to be open. But I always kind of, tread with caution here because it could be uncomfortable for people. I don't ask people how much they make unless I have that kind of relationship with them, or I've noticed that they're open about talking about money. Outside of that, I don't just ask that question. It can be really, really uncomfortable, and it's definitely not dinner time talk. You don't want everybody all in your business. So an alternative is to just straight up not ask them about their money, or you can look for signals that will make you think that it's okay to ask. Maybe they talk about money openly, whatever the case may be, but I steer away from that one. If you have said any of these things on the list, and I have, okay, so don't feel no way about it. I want you to take some time to do some self-reflection and ask yourself these three questions. The first one, before you said whatever the offensive statement was, what sensations came up in your body? Was your chest hurting? Was your chest tight? Did you feel heat? Um, did you feel cold? Did you feel stress? What was going on in your body before you said it? The second thing that I want you to ask yourself is, who taught you how to communicate in the way that you do? Where did you learn it from? How did you get the communication style? Was it your friends, your family, the people that you went to school with? Where did you pick up just the way that you communicate and your values about communication? And the last question that I want you to ask yourself is, who's a communicator that you really like and why do you like them? Is it because they always seem to have the right thing to say? Is it because they're quick-witted? Is it because they just know what to do in any situation to keep people calm? Whatever it is, but I want you to think about that. The whole purpose of us asking ourselves these questions is to figure out our intent, to help us figure out also where our communication patterns come from, and then to also develop some kind of healthy roadmap to figure out how do we develop some of these healthier communication skills, because that's going to be important. That self-reflection piece is so important on this journey. A few other things to pay attention to before we open our mouths and speak is timing. Is it the right time to say this? Who is around? If we're at Thanksgiving dinner and we crack this joke and it doesn't go over well, we just did that in front of everybody. They may not feel too good about it. Another thing to think about is your intent versus the impact. I am guilty of this myself. I didn't mean for it to come off that way. I didn't mean it for it to hurt your feelings. It doesn't matter, because the impact is also very, very important. Doesn't matter if we didn't mean to hurt the person, we did. So now we need to go and fix that. So think about how the things that you say can impact other people, their mental health, their all that stuff. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. And last but not least, please remember that our relationship and our role does not make it appropriate to say anything and everything to people. Okay? Talkticians, your words have power. Okay? Use your words to uplift, to connect, and most importantly, to create emotional safety. Slowly start to integrate these things into your conversations. Take it one day at a time. I can guarantee you that when you start to implement these things, it will transform your relationships. If this video helped you to see things differently, it helped you to think about your communication, drop which one of these phrases or which one of these alternative phrases you think are going to help you the most in the comments. Talkticians, till next time.